All right, good evening. I'm calling to order to the regular board meeting of the CUSD Board of Education for August 7th, 2025. Welcome everyone to our new boardroom. All right, so first item on the agenda is the flag salute. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Next item on the agenda is roll call.
Trustee Zhao,
Here.
Trustee Chow.
Here.
Trustee Manhattan.
Here.
Trustee Liu.
Here.
Trustee Leon.
Here.
No.
Great. All right. Thank you. The next item then is board agenda approval. Could I get a motion, please?
I'll move.
Thanks, Sylvia. And a second?
A second.
All right. Thanks, Long.
Trustee Zhao.
Aye.
Trustee Chow.
Aye.
Trustee Leon.
Aye.
Trustee Manhattan.
Aye.
Trustee Liu.
Aye. All right. Thank you. The next item then is comments, public comments on the closed session. Do we have any comments tonight?
No, we do not.
Okay. In that case, then I'm going to adjourn us to closed session. We'll expect to be back by 6 p.m. Thanks. All right, I'd like to reconvene us back to open session. We have nothing to report from closed session. Before I turn this, so the next item on the agenda is a superintendent report. But before I do that, I just want to welcome everyone to our brand new boardroom. I'd like to express on behalf of the board appreciation to staff for preparing such a beautiful room with the multicolored chairs and the space. And I understand this was done with no additional budget. So thank you for just working within constraints. It's wonderful. So I want to express thanks. And y'all are the first audience here. So congratulations for that. Yeah. All right. Okay. With that then, Superintendent Yao.
Perfect. That's a perfect segue in because I'm going to open up with a little disclaimer. This is our first time using the boardroom. We will probably work through some issues. So if there's anything that's not working, we are going to take feedback at the end. We'll make adjustments. But this is really our first opportunity because not only is it a new boardroom, we're also our first time using Gamut, which is a new platform for our board agenda and our documents. So we're working through that. We're missing our CTO tonight. So Aaron is wearing dual hats tonight. So be kind and we'll get through this. So we are super excited to have a place I think that we can call home. The other side of the excitement is Meyerholtz is now out. We had the RFP go out. We definitely have interest in possibilities for leasing it. So we look forward in the next couple of weeks to be able to bring that back as well. So moving forward with that. And other than that, it's welcome to the new year. Seems like we just said, well, we'll see you in a couple of weeks. And 7 weeks, here we are again. So super exciting. We're going to open up the school year next Thursday with 13,500 students. And out of that, we have, if you recall, this is our first year full implementation for our TK program. Classes will open with a 10-to-1 ratio. We have a total of 36 TK classes. So just under about 800 students for our TK students. So we have definitely grown. This is that first year that we have all 4-year-olds will be enrolled there as well. The other exciting part is this is our first year that we now have the full implementation of our K through 3 at 22-to-1. So if you remember, we dropped that down from 24-to-1, and then we're continuing with the enrollment at our 4-5 grades with 29-to-1. Some of the offside of that is we are seeing a few more combo classes this year, and we'll continue to work through that. So I think all but 2 sites have combo classes, but that really is trying to get to that ratio and trying to still adjust with class shifts and reaching those ratios at those lower size. So we're right streaming there. What I'm really excited about tonight is to welcome our new administrators to our district. We spent last Friday, we had all management, and then our principals and APs spent Monday going through in advance. So we have 5 new team members to our administration. So I wanted to invite them up to the podium, and then I'll introduce them. And they will also get to see which board member then is going to be visiting their school site. So If I can have all 5 of you come on up, and then I'll introduce you one by one, and then we're going to take a group picture. So first up is our new principal at Faria, Michael Kim Stevens. Michael came from us from Lakeside Joint School District, where he was a principal. He's been an assistant principal, technology coach, and innovation specialist, a math science teacher, and a science subject specialist. He is fluent in Spanish and speaks some Chinese. He is also very handy with technology. And your board member will be Ava Chow, will be visiting your school. So welcome to Faria. Second up is Jonathan Mock. He's going to be our principal at the Muir Cliff school site. Jonathan comes to us from Milpitas, where he was the assistant principal at Milpitas High School. And according to Mr. Gelber, he virtually was in charge of everything there since 2018, which is wonderful. For those of you who may recall, Adolfo Laguna was our director of HR. When Adolfo was a principal at Silver Creek, Jonathan was his AP as well under Silver Creek, so some familiar ties. Jonathan has been in charge of student services, athletic director, and a chemistry teacher. He speaks some Spanish, American Sign Language, Vietnamese, Cantonese, and Mandarin. Jonathan is a guru of escape rooms. He actually owns his own successful escape room in San Jose, and he consults around the country for groups who are opening escape rooms. Jerry, you will be his board member, so I would fully expect that we'll be doing some kind of escape room activity at one of the board meetings coming up.
Definitely.
Welcome, Jonathan. Third is Yvonne Sugomera. She's going to be our new principal at Nimitz Elementary. Yvonne comes to us also from Milpitas. Nice job, Mr. Gelber. Where she was a director of student services and special programs. She has been an EL coordinator and a coordinator of literacy and intervention. She was a teacher, assistant principal, and a principal at Franklin McKinley. She's on the Access State Board of Directors, and she was our Region 8 Administrator of the Year in 2024. And Jerry, you also get to visit Yvonne's site. Our fourth new administrator is our principal at middle school of CMS, Dr. Allison Zuniga. Allison comes to us from San Jose Unified, where she was an assistant principal at the high school level. She's oversaw MTSS, master schedule, student study teams, and counselors. She also oversaw the WASC accreditation, which thankfully we do not have to do at the elementary levels, and then was in charge of student services. Allison was an AP US government teacher and a geography teacher before becoming an administrator. Allison received her doctorate in 2019 from Arizona State, and she is a Spanish speaker. And your board member will be Sylvia. And last, joining Allison at CMS is our brand new AP, Carmen Andrade. Carmen she comes to us with several years' experience as an AP in the Saddleback Valley Unified School District. The school where Carmen works was a 2024 Distinguished School and a 2023 National School to Watch. She has a lot of experience in student equity, PBIS, MTSS, and safety. She was an AVID coordinator and trained in the International Baccalaureate. Carmen is also bilingual in Spanish, and Sylvia will also be your board member that visits your sites frequently. So congratulations for joining us. We welcome you with open arms, and just know that anytime that you need anything, we have one of the most supportive boards that truly is focused on students. So I think you're going to find you're in a very welcoming, very nurturing, very inclusive, and a very high achieving district. And we know that you'll be part of that team. So congratulations and welcome.
So yeah, so maybe we could line up or get a picture here with our. Okay. Yes. Okay, all right, next item on the agenda is communication from employee organizations. Do we have any speakers tonight?
We do. We have CEA President Kate Lee.
Okay, welcome, President Lee.
Good evening, boards of trustees, Superintendent Yao, President of Cabinet, and our CUSD teachers. They might not be tuned in yet. They still have a couple days, most of them, and our wonderful CUSD community. And a special welcome, and so nice to meet and hear from our principals. And I look forward to working with them through the year, our new principals. It's a great district, and just have a wonderful time. Do I need to turn this on? Okay.
Microphone, right?
Hey.
Thank you. Okay, hopefully everybody heard that. Welcome back to our new school year, 2025-2026. Of course, our alternative school, Murdoch Portal, that has a year-round schedule, has been back since the end of July and are in full swing. I sent all the teachers a welcome back greeting on their first day, and they were sharing how excited they were to be back together and looking forward to seeing their new students. So go Penguins. For all other sites, teachers return on Monday and our students will come back on Thursday. As much as teachers and students love summer vacation, there is always a wonderful feeling when we return to our sites. Remember, our schools are like our home away from home and our extended families, our colleagues and staff, our students and their families. We are excited to catch up and share about our summers and new ideas for teaching that have been brewing in our heads and often been developed through summer professional development, as well as individual teachers planning and learning on their own time through the summer to improve their instruction and student learning for the upcoming year. We can't wait to see our students from previous years, see how they have grown in size and maturity, hear about their new passions or what they continue to learn and develop in their skills of their long-term hobbies and interests. So enjoy your last few days of summer and make the most of our first days back, as well as the rest of your year. Let's all return to school with what our students and educators need most. Hearts and minds full of joy, full of the joy of learning, kindness and inclusion of all, and a gentle reminder that learning is an ongoing process. And wherever a student is in that spectrum of knowledge and ability, maybe take it further away. So wherever they are in that spectrum of knowledge and ability to apply their skills and their learning and what they've learned, it's all just fine and wonderful. I always tell worried parents and students that they don't have to have the multiplication math facts memorized before third grade or even fourth, to not be anxious about anything in their child's learning process. Their teachers will be there for them, to teach, to help, to support them. We are all here to learn together and help each other grow and flourish in a supportive, engaging learning environment. This is what CUSD, CEA, and public education are all about. I am so proud to be a public school educator, a member of an employee of teachers and CUSD, and I'm so honored to represent all of our public education teachers here in our district. And I'm so grateful to be able to work with the administration of CUSD and our trustees of the board, who are also great supporters of public education and who support our teachers and our students. Thank you.
Thank you, President Lee. Okay, then next item on the agenda is item G, public comment. So this is a portion of the meeting for the public to make comments on items that are not on the agenda. We generally allocate 20 minutes and we'll take any additional comments at the end of the meeting if we need more than 20 minutes. Do we have any speakers tonight for this?
We do. We have one.
Okay, so welcome, the speaker.
Teresa Wang.
Lisa.
Teresa, if you're joining virtually, please raise your hand. I do not see Teresa.
Okay, so folks are always welcome to email us at board@cusdka.org. We read all emails and we reply to all emails. So, so Teresa, if you see this or hear this, please feel free to reach out. All right, with that then, I'm going to move on to the information section of the meeting tonight. We have 3 items. The first one is on Gamut. This is our new meeting management platform. So who will start us off?
I will. So again, we just wanted to do a really brief overview of it. We know we've been introducing it and bringing it forward to the board. This really is for the board's benefit, but also for our community so that they know how to access not only our board meetings and board agendas, but also our new board policies that are more easily accessible and updated frequently. So I had asked Erin if she could put together just a really quick overview and just to make sure we all have the same information as we move forward.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. So just a reminder what GAMET stands for. It stands for Government and Management Utilizing Technology. It's an integrated suite of board governance management modules offered by CSBA. As of last spring, we had 2 CUSD subscriptions. We added Gamut Policy Plus, which is an online platform for board members, staff, and public. This allows for 250 different language translations, enhanced search features, and the manual processes of updating our board policies and ARs are built into the platform. We utilized this for when we did our global adoption update, and we'll be continuing to move forward with it in terms of where we house our board policies, ARs, and exhibits. The other subscription that we've had for a very long time is Gamut Policy, and this provides updates at least quarterly with live webinars for the different district subscribers to ask CSBA legal team any policy update questions. So we had that subscription even with our subscription with Board Docs. And then new this year, we are launching Gamut Meetings. So now, in addition to having our policies hosted on Gamut, we will also have our board meetings as well as any committee meetings that we host as CUSD. So some of the benefits to switching to Gamut Meetings include the streamlining of district board governance meetings and policies into one place. It has the ease of use with built-in security, and we have a very responsive and knowledgeable Gamut tech support personnel staff. We were having quite a few issues with Board Docs in terms of their support the past several years. There's also direct translation. As mentioned, not only are the meetings and both meetings and policies are translatable. And then you also have the opportunity to access other Gamut school districts meetings and policies for any type of research you may be doing or any community member may be doing. There's also some additional cost savings to switching to Gamut Meetings. So in terms of savings, with the same level of service for which includes board and committee meetings as well as hosting our policies, we're saving approximately 46%. And then in addition to that, with meetings only, we're saving approximately 67%. So not only is it more user-friendly and effective, but it does save in terms of financial. So I'll take a quick moment to show everyone how we access the new Gamut platform. So navigating to cusdk8.org, our homepage, you'll now notice instead of Board Docs located under the file icon, it lists Gamut. It takes you to our homepage, which has some general information about our board and superintendent, our board meetings, how to address the board at board meetings, our public comment card, and then the list of the board meetings for the year. In the upper right, you can navigate to either CUSD board meetings or CUSD policies. The policies, again, are grouped by those different numbering systems that we reviewed last spring. You are able to go based on the numbering system, or you can also search. You can enter your keyword search here. You can filter by that search term either with meetings or with policies or one or the other. And then you can also go to our board meetings. The most current meeting will be listed at the top, followed by the past meetings of the school year. So you can click there and then see the agenda. If there is a little paperclip, that indicates that there's additional attachments to the agenda item. And then also to translate, you go up to the upper right, hit translate, and then you have a variety of different languages to choose from. And that is a very quick tutorial of our new platform, Gamut.
Thank you, Erin.
Okay, at this point then, I'd like to see if we have any questions from board members on this. So please indicate if you have a question. Anyone?
I can ask a question. So about the savings, and is it like a per year, this one, and compared to what, like kind of, so.
So Diligent Community is the owner of Board Docs. So that was our previous platform for where we hosted our meeting agendas as well as our board policies.
So is it like an annual saving or is it a one time? What is it? Just
It's annual.
annual, okay. So it's a subscription model to do it.
The subscription is annual, on an annual basis.
And we have this price fixed for upcoming years, or it's only for the current year? You don't know what's next year?
Yes, it's for the current year. Mhm.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else? Blanc?
Say for our previous meetings, are we going to port all the previous meetings to Gamma?
Yes, we were able to export our previous meetings and we will be creating an archive on Gamut.
Okay, and how about say board docs? Are we going to are we losing those?
Yes, we have concluded our contract with Board Docs, and now this serves for that same purpose for meetings and policies.
Okay, yeah, I saw it. We only have a couple of previous meetings on Gamut, but we're going to export, say, previous years as well, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I think that file is so large from Board Docs or Diligent. We originally started using that back in 2017. So to export it is a very large file, so it will take Gamut. They weren't sure how quickly they could get it, but then you'll start seeing that it'll be archived and available to back reference any of our prior meetings.
Go ahead, Ava.
So since it will take a while for Gamut, which I do appreciate them taking on the mass data transfer, in the meantime, are we able to access the prior meetings in? Maybe turn off the ones, I'll talk on that one. Yeah. Sorry. Is it possible to check the ones that are not in Gamut, are we still be able to access on board the Board Docs or some sort of archival process?
We ourselves internally downloaded all of the meeting agenda items and attachments. So we do have that available. But it's a much easier process for Gamut to take that file and upload it themselves. So we do still have all the archival documents, but in terms of transferring it to the different platform, Gamut is doing that for us.
So Board Docs is no longer available. Once June 30th came, that contract ended, so we can no longer access on Board Docs. So staff did download just to ensure that we have those as a file.
Okay, and then so we could ask staff about that if we need something prior that's not on Gamut?
Yes.
Okay, and then are they uploading the files from the most recent working back?
I am not sure the way that the file transfer is done. It may be based on size of file versus like time increments. I'm not 100% sure, but it should be done shortly.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ava. So yeah.
I had a question about the video recordings because I noticed with Board Docs, what was nice about the meeting minutes was it would kind of take you to the video section. And that's one particular segment for that particular agenda item. At least for the two that are currently archived for June, it looks like it's just the one long recording of the board meeting and it's not kind of broken into sections. Is that a functionality?
We are able to timestamp the video, yes, in a similar way. Mhm.
Okay, and it'll kind of be attached to each agenda item similarly to the way it was in Board Docs?
It's slightly different, but it will be similar where it's chunked.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. As for myself, I think in terms of that homepage that we go to, okay, I'll just talk really loud. So in terms of that homepage that we go to, I appreciated that there's a lot more instructions there on public comments online. I presume that's within our control then? We could adjust that, or are there restrictions?
The homepage, yes, we can add additional text content too. Mhm.
I think maybe just one suggestion, when I first came on there are multiple links all called board meetings. And the one that to me is a logical one actually doesn't take us there. So I would suggest maybe adding some sort of a call to action button. A really prominent one, because I think most people who come here are gonna want to go to the meeting archives. So I can follow up offline, but thank you for, I love the new homepage, a lot more instructions there, but just, yeah, thank you. Any other questions? Any other questions from folks? No, all right, do we have public comments on this item?
No, we do not.
Okay, well, in that case, then thanks, Aaron, we'll go ahead and exit this item. The next item, H2, is resolution 252605. This is about a COPPA certificate of participation.
So I'll kick it off, and then Chris, and we also have some special guests here tonight, Dale Scott and Joe Crumpa joining us as well. Just as kind of that refresher, last spring, we had touched on the concept of doing the refinance of our solar energy program panels. And at that time, we were also discussing the budget. And so we had said we would come back and discuss it further. At that point, there had been a positive input from the board that they wanted to pursue this. And so we wanted to bring back more of the specifics, because time-wise, there is some things that we want to move on. It is a cost savings. The other important piece, I think, as we look at this solar panel refinancing is we'll show you what the old financing was. And if you recall, it wasn't a level debt funding each year. We had different amounts each year, and we had what we call a big balloon payment that was coming due of 10 million. By refinancing, we get rid of that big balloon payment, which was a big concern of ours. We're still unsure whether we're going to receive that money from the federal funds. So this would be our opportunity to kind of levelize what those debts are each month. So I'm going to turn over to Chris and then Dale.
Sure, thank you, Stacy. Maybe we can pull up the one slide that showed the original debt payment service that showed the balloon payment. And as we bring that up, just to kind of piggyback on what Superintendent Yao was mentioning, since we had this discussion last year, we wanted to bring it back. And tonight, it's mainly for information purposes. One of the things I do want to always point out is that just like not just this particular financing, but also any of our bonds, any of our old bonds. Obviously, one of the things that we do want to make sure that we take advantage of in terms of being good stewards of the funding is to look at when there are opportunities for us to refinance, restructure, to lower the interest owed, lower the tax burden on our community. And so this is just one more an example of there's an opportunity here where we can take advantage of refinancing the original debt service into a lower interest rate model that will achieve those objectives that we talked about, lowering the overall debt that we owe, using those interests that we're saving on the interest payments to help stretch out our payments, get out of that $10 million balloon payment. And so as you can see on the screen here, the original plan was to have a somewhat of a level debt service payment, starting really low, around 2 million, and then growing over 3 million over time. But that $10 million, that 1 year was the time to take advantage of the Inflation Reduction Act monies that we are still eligible for. And just to remind the board, we have applied for about half of it because we have about half of the solar projects up and going. Once the remaining projects are finalized and we get those commissioned, staff will go and apply for the remaining amount. But that was really the essence of why we had that balloon payment, knowing that we were going to offset it by about $8.4 million. So now what we're trying to do right now is to basically look at this and restructure the whole 19-year payment plan here and to really level off the payments. And so although the new payment schedule is not attached yet to one of the documents, there's a document attached. It's referred to as POS. that's going to be the official statement on the COP. In there will be this debt service schedule that will show by year for the next 19 years how much is paid out in principal, how much is paid out in interest, and the total accumulated amount. So just again to remind us all that we need to do this any time that interest rates are at a lower rate. I think Dale's here tonight, and Dale can answer any other questions I'm not able to answer. But the original projection was that we were going to save about $1.6 million in interest. So I think that by far is significant that we do want to make sure that we acknowledge that. So attached to the board agenda is the actual resolution that we would like you to consider for approval, possibly at the next meeting. In addition to the resolution, there are some other attachments, and then the main one is the POS. It's the POS stands for preliminary statement. I'm sorry, thank you. And so that basically kind of spells out all the particulars in regards to the overall financing. I'll stop and see if there's any questions that the board has.
Thanks. Let's go in the same order as before. So Satish.
Yeah, so I think what I understand from these two slides is like we used to have kind of like a uniform increase, of course a spike, then it goes up. But with the new proposal, you pay kind of a same amount across every year.
Correct. I'm looking at something that I don't think that you have in front of you, but this is the tentative repayment schedule for the new refinancing. And pretty much each annual payment starting in 2027 is about $3.4 million a year. So that's really what our level debt service payment will be each year for the next 19 years.
And our original interest rate was, what was it? Now
I believe this was estimated based off of 5. This current one. But I believe the original interest rate was more than 5. I don't have that number in front of me, what the original interest rate was.
And just roughly, so this is, let's say this is about 3 million per annum. And our electricity cost is what, like roughly about 2 million, what we pay?
No, close to 3 million has been our, prior to solar, our electricity costs.
It's about 3. So it's like kind of a break even now for now.
Yes.
Okay. And there is a refinance cost of 357. This is a one-time cost, 357. Okay.
I'm sorry, say that
The
again.
refinance cost is the one-time.
The refinance cost, guys.
And this can be refinanced again if the interest rate goes, or it's kind of a, is there a prepayment penalty? Or
Yes.
Yes, it can be refinanced again, not immediately, but after a certain number of years, and that will affect the interest rate. Where we depend on that year ends up will be in discussion with your assistant superintendent. But it is set up to be able to be refinanced, however, not the next day. It will be a couple of years into the future, or maybe 5 to 10 years. But that will affect the interest rate, and it's going to measurement we're going to have to make at that time.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. See how long?
Okay, yeah, for the refinancing, say right now we are interest rate is still at a higher level, and say if there's next year the interest rate is went down again, so are we going to refinance it again? Can we?
So as Dale Scott mentioned, that in the future, maybe not tomorrow, obviously, if the interest rate market, interest rate market changes, staff will look at what those refinancing options are. I just, again, as Dale said, I don't think it will be immediately. It could be 5 years when the next opportunity. But yeah, we will always look at trying to refinance it if if the terms are reasonable.
I think one of the reasons when staff began looking at this was because there was the lowest interest rate, but then also that balloon payment is really that concern there. And this does alleviate and take care of that balloon payment as well at a lower interest rate.
Okay, so but say if if we are fortunate enough and did receive the payment from the federal government, and will that the payment from the what's it called, inflation action?
Inflation Reduction Act.
Yeah, inflation reduction action. And so will we put those payments into a building account or general funding?
So as a reminder, when we did the multi-year budget last June, when we brought it forward with you, we are counting into our future budget that we are going to receive the 8 million from the federal government for the Reduction Act. It's already been built in, moved over as a general fund. So we are still counting on that money. We're spending it. We're relying on it. We've just taken it out with the intent that we would remove it from here. So the money's already spent. We're just waiting to get it.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's see, Ava.
My questions was a combination of Satish's and Long, so it got answered. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Sylvia?
I also had my questions answered. Thank you.
Okay, all right. And I think I have mine answered, most of them. I did want to ask about the interest rate. So on this attachment H2, financing alternative number 1 slide. So the 3.76, that's the expected interest rate of, what is the 3.76?
So if I can, disclaimer, we use that slide. That was slide that was presented back in March and April. So it is not a true representation. I think when Chris referenced the
POS.
that has more accurate information. We just had this one to show again that representation of how we were going to get out of.
I see. Okay.
So I do apologize for
Oh,
that.
no worries. And so do we have a sense of what the expected rate is? It sounds like we are expecting savings.
Savings, and whereas I think it's estimated based off of 5%.
Oh, that's right. You mentioned that. Okay, 5%. All right. Okay, thank you. I was wondering why the rate we're getting is cheaper than a T-bill. Like, are we more reliable than the federal government? But okay, that's my bad. Thank you. All right, then I have no questions either. Do we have any comments from the public on this one?
No, we do not.
Okay, all right then. We'll go ahead.
So we'd like to bring it back next board meeting as an action item so that we can move forward with it if that's. Yeah.
Sounds good. Okay,
Thank you.
action item for this one. Excellent. Okay, and then H3 is the quarterly report on Williams uniform complaint. So who gets that?
Yes, this is just our required quarterly report. No complaints were filed during this time period.
Any questions from the board? Any comments from the public on this one?
No, we do not.
Okay, all right then, we'll move on then. Thank you. All right, we have one discussion action item tonight. It's the 45-day budget update. So lovely Superintendent Yao and Chris.
Yeah, and this one's actually just a discussion, no action on this.
Oh, right.
It's just
Okay.
discussion. Again, this is just our time. These are bringing back any updates, new information that we had after the governor's budget actually was signed in July. And so you'll see it's very short, but it is the first of series that we'll be bringing back information on our budget. That is a priority. I can remember under priority 3, we left off the end of last year. Really having that discussion about the stabilization. And so staff looks forward to continuing having that conversation and updating with our own finances. But this does reflect some of the changes from the state budget as well. So I'll turn over to Tina and Chris.
Yeah, well, actually, before Tina starts, I just want to say thank you to staff. You guys, staff has been quite busy this summer with the year-end close, and now this is our first opportunity to kind of update the board on terms of the budget for this coming year. If you recall, when we adopt our budget late June, it's still in advance of when the state adopts its budget. And so what typically happens is if there are changes there after we've adopted our budget or when the final budget gets signed by the governor, those changes to the budget may have some impact on our district budget. So Usually for the 45-day budget, we are to bring back anything that of significance of changes. But this is also an opportunity for us to bring forward any small changes to the board tonight. So Tina's going to kind of review with you some of those major and probably some little minor changes that we've made since we presented to you back in June. So with that, I'll turn it over to Tina.
Perfect. Thank you, Chris. Good evening to the board. So as Chris mentioned, we're just presenting some of those district changes that we've made to our budget since the state did enact the budget back in July 1. Since our budget was approved prior, these are some of those changes. So I'm going to start off with the first one. So this one is actually one of the best news about this budget this year that we're very excited about. So Governor Newsom did allow for a one-time unrestricted general fund student support and professional development discretionary block grant. It's a big load title, but this discretionary block grant is fully discretionary. It comes with no restrictions. We are able to use it for our general fund. Originally, the estimate was about 4.2 million. There was a very small reduction of about $100,000. So right now we're anticipating the new projected amount to be 4.1 million. So it's just a small change from what we budgeted, but again, unrestricted, which is very helpful for our budget at this time. A reminder, it is one time, so it's a temporary help, but it is a one-time funding that's unrestricted. The other one that is new to our budget is this one is also one time, but there is going to be a learning recovery block grant allocation. So in the past, we have received learning recovery block grant money. There is a little bit remaining in the fund, so the state decided to reissue the remaining dollars and divide it to the districts based on ADA. And so we are going to receive a new projected amount of $330,000. This was not included in our budget, so this is a new revenue source for us for our budget. However, it does come with restrictions. So the state is requiring that we do a needs assessment. There is some details that we're still working out on what type of needs assessment and what those details look like. So Allison and her team, we're working together to make sure that we meet those requirements. And then it does need to be built into our LCAP. So any of the implementation that we do does need to be built into our LCAP beginning in 26-27. So we will not need to modify our current LCAP for this year, but we will need to modify future LCAPs. So this money is restricted based on that needs assessment and supporting the LCAP. So it does come with restrictions. But again, that's an additional $330,000. And then, as you know, with the uncertainty with the federal government, we've kind of had a whirlwind over this summer. It turns out that the federal government did withhold all of our title funding that we were expecting to receive. So we did have a cash flow issue that occurred July 1 because we were anticipating to receive federal funding. So what occurred was federal government, as of July 1, did withhold all of our title money. It's approximately $1.2 million. We did leave it in the budget because we were anticipating that we were still going to count on that money coming through. However, I did remove it from our cash flow, which then created an accrual, which then meant that we do have to borrow some money. So we're going to talk a little bit about borrowing and cash flow in a minute. But it did create a challenge for us. As you have now heard, federal government did release the title funding to the state. So CDE did confirm that they received title funding. However, in the communication that I received, one of the challenges that has occurred is Title III immigrant funding was either inadvertently left off of their notification or purposefully left off of their notification because it was not funded. So we currently have calls out to the state government to try and figure out if that was inadvertent, that they accidentally left it off of their notification, or if it was purposeful and we're not going to be funded for that. So I'm going to review the federal funding just one more time, just to refresh your memory. We do receive federal funding for nutrition services of 1.4 million. We also receive federal funds for special education of 3.4 million. We've talked a little bit about the Inflation Reduction Act, and we are counting on that one-time federal fund of 8.3 million for the general fund. But what I'm speaking about right now is our Fund 8 special programs, those title programs, 1.2 million. So what we're talking about with the Title III immigrant money is this bottom left quadrant. It's approximately $281,000 that we're currently unsure of. We do believe we'll receive all of the rest of the title funding. These are approximate numbers. We have not received the official notifications from CDE yet, even though they've received the money. They haven't allocated it to the schools yet. That usually happens the beginning of August. So we're right in that time frame right now. So we're anticipating those will be funded at about that level. But the concern at the moment for this year is the Title III immigrant money of $281,000. Now, I will say this, I think the concern for this year is the Title III immigrant money, but our larger concern for 26-27 is that the federal government will basically eliminate this from their budget starting next year. So we do have a short-term concern, and then we do have a long-term concern. So just to refresh your memory, this is not an inclusive list, but this just is a quick list to remind you of what is covered by each of the additional title funding. So the one I'm going to focus on tonight is the Title III immigrant funding, because that does currently support 27 instructional assistants at all of our schools for 2 hours a day. And so that could have tremendous impact to our district and our students. And so we're continuing to try and monitor that as quickly as possible. And as soon as I hear back from the state, I will definitely let Superintendent Yao know so that she can share with you what the status of that is. But that's our current concern right now. So then I get into the cash flow. As I mentioned earlier, one of the challenges of moving into becoming basic aid is our cash flow. So what happens is property tax money is only distributed, majority is distributed 2 times a year. The first time is in December. So that means we have to carry all of our expenses from July 1 until December, until we receive our first property tax deposit. And so that does create a temporary cash flow issue when you start getting down lower on your reserves and getting lower on your cash flow. So as you'll remember, back at the end of the school year, the board did approve for us to go out for what we call a TRAN. It's a tax and revenue anticipation note. It's temporary borrowing for cash flow purposes. You met Dale Scott and company. The TRAN is done through their business, and it's actually sponsored by CSBA, which is the California School Board Association. And they provide this for funds to address cash shortfalls for school districts due to the irregular receipt of state aid and property taxes. And now also federal aid, because we're not receiving the federal aid as we had anticipated. There's over 5,900 TRANs that are issued across the state each year. And it's really to supplement our general fund cash reserves to help us buffer that cash flow situation. So this is just a reminder of what was approved by the board. This was not in the budget. So that's why we're bringing it to you now, is to let you know these were the final numbers. So the TRAN principal amount was $30,480,000. The purchase price was $31,052,109.60. So at maturity, what will be due back is $31,940,500. Now, while we are holding that money, it's already been deposited in our account. We received it in July 15th. We are earning interest on that money. And so the interest that we're anticipating to earn on that money while we hold it for this year is approximately $1.4 million. And then the TRAN cost is about $943,000. So you'll see that the interest that we're making, the goal is it will exceed what the TRAN cost is, and the interest will offset that cost. So this won't be at an overall cost to the district. So basically the cash flow is already in our account. We can already pull from it. We have not needed to yet, but with the federal funding not coming in July 1, that definitely threw a little bit of a loop in our plans. The other thing that's different about this year's budget is we did have to do what we call an augmentation. That means we've already had to allocate additional money from the general fund for expenditures. So we have, if you'll remember, we have what's called our routine restricted maintenance and repair account. This is the account that we're required to maintain a 3% funding level of our overall operating budget. And this is for the maintaining of our buildings. And so currently right now, this past summer, we did an internal audit of our routine restricted maintenance account. And we did find that there were a couple of items in there that don't meet the qualifications for the routine restricted maintenance. They don't meet the allowable criteria. So at that time, when we identified those, we did move them. So the things that were moved were City of Cupertino fees. That's regarding our open space agreement, and that covers water and sewage. The annual fire alarm system, and then a portion of our garage staff. So our garage staff is split between the general fund and our transportation department. And this is the portion of the general fund that we had to move back in. So we did have to move an additional $1 million over into the general fund and expenditures because these are not allowable expenditures in the RRMA. So that was another adjustment that we made in the budget. Just so you guys know, I periodically do internal audits of all accounts. So we rotate them throughout the year. We look at every single one of our accounts. And so these random audits, internal audits happen by my staff. And then on top of that, we also have our annual audit by the external auditors to review our accounts as well, so that hopefully we can keep our books clean and keep everything organized. So these were just a couple of things that we caught. With that, I will pause and see if there's any questions or if anything Chris wants to add.
Okay, thank you for the presentation, Tina. Very clear as usual. Yeah, let's go to questions and Satish, please go ahead.
I have a couple of questions. One is, when is this strand thing comes, like, is it starting the beginning of the, that means now, or is it like, when are we going to get this money?
We already have it. It's already been borrowed. So we received it as of July 15th. So it's already in our account. The payback is in June of 2026. So we basically hold it for the entire school year, and our payback is in June of 2026.
And this, we make a difference, right? 943 to 1.4, that's roughly about, I would say about 500 or so, like 450 or so. And that will come to a general fund, or what is that difference for it?
It will go to the general fund.
General fund, okay. The next one question is like, since we did not, so you said that California already got some of the Fed money anyway, and we are not got that, right? So do you know, like, I know that beginning of the school year, we are supposed to be having that, and out of this 1.2, we will not be getting at least 281. That means roughly about $1 million we should get it. So do we know that by when we would get it, or?
So the way the federal funding works, the first thing that has to happen is the federal government issues it to the state. Then the state does their award letters, which usually happens the first week of August. We then, from that point on, we'll do quarterly submissions of expenditures. And then once we submit the quarterly expenditure reports, then they will send us the money. So federal money is a reimbursement base. So that's part of the cash flow problem. So if we start accruing expenditures now, we'll submit them at the first quarter, and then we'll get reimbursement. They usually reimburse us within 30 days of submitting our quarter report. So the July, August, September. So at the end of September, our first report would be due, and then we would receive that first payment usually in October. So we're still planning on that same procedure. It just depends on when the state then gives us the allocations so that we can start submitting our expenditures.
Okay, thanks. Long?
Yeah. Yeah, I also have some questions about the trend. Say, can we borrow a trend from our mayor's instead of?
That's a great question. So we do look at cash flow from multiple perspectives. So on average, a month of expenditures in CUSD is about $20 to $25 million. So typically the goal of a district, the goal of a district is to have at least 3 months cash on hand for the event of an emergency. So for our district, that would be approximately $60 million. In our trans, we only borrowed $30 million. So we are potentially going to need to rely on the possible borrowing of money from the bond. However, any borrowing from the bond has to be repaid, and it has to be repaid in the same fiscal year. So if we were to borrow money right now, it would have to be repaid before the fiscal year was over. So the bond is always whole before the fiscal year ends. But that is another means of cash flow to help support the district. Yes.
So I would expect to say we borrowed money and we pay back when we say in December, when we receive our first payment of property tax. And then we can pay it back, but why do we pay it back in June, in next June?
Right. So our cash flow analysis demonstrated that 10 out of 12 months, we would be negative on our cash flow this year. So we basically were only positive in December when we received that payment, and then we went negative again in January. So we basically are negative all of the months except for the months that we're actually receiving cash. And so that puts us negative in December and then again in May. And so that's why we need to carry that cash for the full year so that we can meet all of our requirements throughout the year and then close out the year and then pay it back. We also don't know about any emergencies. So just as the example with the federal government, we were planning on receiving certain money from the federal government. And if we don't receive it at the moment we're expecting it, then that could create additional cash flow issues. And so that's why you want to have a little bit extra in reserve. So, oh yeah.
Can I also maybe add to what you're saying is that I think also part of the question is everything is kind of fiscal year based. So within our current fiscal year, revenues and expenditures, if we have to borrow money, it all has to be paid back and accounted for at the end of the fiscal year. So that's the reasons why we go out and issue a trans every year, because we have the need for a tran in the current year. We may need to borrow from it once or twice during the year. At the end of the year, we pay it back, and then we go back and reissue another trans starting July 1 of the following year. So everything is kind of tied to the fiscal year.
So that means next year, in June, we pay back, and in July, we immediately borrow again, right?
If we are doing the 26-27 budget next year and we analyze our cash flow and believe that we will have months where we could have cash flow challenges, then yes, we would go out for another trans for July of 2027.
Okay, thank you.
2026.
And then Ava, please go ahead.
Thank you, President Liu. So first thing, thank you so much for putting the fund numbers next to the categories of the data. That is helpful. I'll choose the questions that has not been answered. So thank you for my colleagues for asking previous questions. Can you remind me how much money do we currently have in our reserves?
So currently right now in our reserves, we have approximately, if I'm remembering off the top of my head, I want to say it's about 5 million.
Well, let's just think right now, we haven't finished closing the books yet.
That's correct.
So what we're providing for you is really a raw estimate. We will have that number in a couple of weeks once we close the books.
Okay, so what I'm hearing, the 3-month cash flow is estimated about 60 million, and this trans is about 30 million. Of the 30 million, how much do we usually typically use? Like throughout the year? Or that's just a buffer of borrowing and putting it back?
It is. It's just a buffer of borrowing and putting back. So based on the monthly revenues and expenditures that actually occur, then we would analyze it to see if at that point in time we need to borrow money from the trans to be able to pay the bills, or if, sorry. Does that answer your question? Sorry, the noise threw me off for a second.
No, totally understand. Yes, it does answer my question. Maybe any electronic device needs to be away from here.
Maybe to add on to that, this is our first year that we've actually had to use the money when we went out for the trans. The year prior, we had brought to the board, we'd had the resolution to go out for a trans, but we did not have to utilize.
We got the trans, but we didn't use any of the funds, correct?
But this is our first year.
This will be our first year. We will actually need to use the
funds.
funds. Yes, correct.
Okay. Yeah, that answered it. Thanks.
Yep.
All right. Hey, Sylvia.
A couple questions. So the one-time restricted special projects fund for 330, you had said that it's going to be incorporated into LCAP for 26, 27.
Correct.
So, but if it's a one-time, so it's a one-time block grant, but it's not for this year, it's for next year?
That's a great question. So we'll receive the money in 25, 26.
Okay.
We can start spending it. It does allow for carryover.
Okay.
So if you don't spend it out in 25, 26 and you have carryover, then the requirement is you build it into your LCAP. So that's a great clarifying question.
I see. Okay. And so so we will be receiving it for this year.
Yeah.
And we will, I'm assuming there's a plan in place to figure out.
We're currently evaluating. We didn't want to make any concrete plans until
Got
we
it.
actually received the award notification from the state.
Okay.
So right now it's an estimate.
Okay.
So once we receive an official a notification of the award, then Allison, I work with Allison and her team then to look at, is there items that we need to do this year? Is there anything that we want to carry over to next year? And then we would build that into the LCAP and then figure out how to do that. So there are some ideas that are, being thought of and we're identifying. Obviously, we have tremendous needs in a lot of areas, and especially if that federal funding does not go through, then we have a need there that might need to be filled. So we're keeping kind of all those moving pieces in mind as we kind of figure out how to put it all together.
So I guess and that was my next question in terms of it being the learning recovery block, which kind of sounds like ESSER a little bit from COVID, but would that money then be able to help support some of the Title III immigrant funding that we may be losing
It could.
in 26, 27?
Correct. It could.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Those are definitely funds that could be used for the support of students in that way. It could be funded with this way instead of the title funding.
I see.
Mhm.
Okay. All
And
right.
it is one time.
But it is one time.
It is.
Okay. All right. And then my other question is regarding the Title III EL versus immigrant. And the kind of the distinction between the two. So I'm seeing the 2 hours a day, 27 instructional IAs. So this isn't 54 IAs, this is 27 IAs at 4 hours divided by 2 hours is funded by this title and 2 hours is funded by this title, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So if the Title III immigrant money goes away, there is still funding for the, hopefully that there's still money for the EL instructional materials and for the IAs who would be supporting the EL.
For 2 hours.
Okay. All right. And then benchmark education, can you remind me what that is?
Thank you, Allison. Allison will help me some of these details.
In one of our prior needs assessment, teachers asked if we could add supplemental materials that would help newcomer students because they felt that our ELD curriculum kind of started a little, too advanced for kids who needed that very basic kind of for foundational language when they first come. So we researched and we found a new option called Benchmark Hello, and we've been using it, and it's been, having really, really great results with our newcomer students. So it's a supplemental material that's available for use at the schools with kids who are new to the country and new to the language.
Okay. Great, thank you. And then I guess my last question is this kind of, if we're making money from getting a trans, couldn't we do this all the time?
It doesn't always turn out this way.
It's just because of the interest rate.
Just right now with where we're at, yes, and our borrowing amount. So it doesn't always end up this way. But the goal is that CSBA, by sponsoring it and the way they've got it organized with as many people as they have, they're trying to make sure it doesn't cost school districts anything. So that is the goal, but it doesn't always work exactly like this. So If those interest rates, like if something major happens and those interest rates come down, we could be on the other side of that really quickly.
I see. Okay. So right now, with where the market and where interest rates are at,
Estimated interest.
estimated, it will be positive for us, but anything could happen
Yeah,
this
I
year.
feel like especially with the swings we've been having, that is one of the risks right
Oh,
now.
all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, no, most of my questions were around impact of Title III. I think Sylvia did very thorough in the answer, so thanks for that. So yeah, I don't have any questions on your presentation. I did sort of have a question about an adjacent topic. So there's an Assembly Bill 1391. I think it's about getting funding for transitional kindergarten for basic aid districts. So I know that, and I saw on a YouTube video, a homemade YouTube video that had died in appropriations 2 days ago, but I can't find any information on it. Y'all, if you have better connections and all that, it's just kind of very interested because I think that's a topic that's relevant to us. So it'd be disappointing if it died, but it was a homemade video. I don't know why people make homemade videos of assembly bills, but they do. And if you could help find that out.
You
that'd be
bet,
great.
absolutely. I'll do some
1390.
research. You
I
bet.
share some information with that on Friday.
Oh, okay.
Friday.
Oh, that would be
Also.
terrific. Thank you. All right, thanks.
I have one question.
Yeah, please.
So, now, nothing specific to this. I think going forward, right, like, looks like this is probably the first year we are operating like this, like with complete basic aid and depending on property tax, which will come late and all those things. So what's our future plan? Because we may not get a lot of stuff on time now, right? So we have only two times or three times, whatever it is that deliver. Earlier, we were getting a constant cash flow, whether it's good or bad, right? Kind of. So this is the same method we are going to going forward, or is it one time we are trying out, or what others do, and what is our future plans?
So I think that's what Tina referenced when, as we roll into the fall, we're going to have to do an analysis of what our cash flow will be. It is one of the changes that happen when you shift into basic aid. I would say most basic aid districts, because they're generating enough of the property tax, they aren't in this situation. But I don't believe it's uncommon for new basic aid districts because you really are right at that cusp and you're just not in that excess funds coming in yet. So we will need to take a careful look at that. We may need to go back out for a trans again for another year to ensure that we have that cash flow, because that's really what it comes down to, is having that available cash flow.
Maybe can I also add,
Yeah.
although basic aid districts cash flow managing your cash flow is even hard, is really difficult. An LCFF district still has some of the same requirements to manage cash flow, because under an LCFF district, you're getting a monthly entitlement. You're getting 1/12 of what you're getting. But if in any given month you're spending more than what you're getting, which would have been 1/12, you do start drawing down your cash flow. So there are some LCFF districts that do rely on a trans, because just the state of normal monthly apportionment isn't coming in fast enough to offset all the expenses that they have in a given month. But as a basic aid district, it's just more complicated because that's all we have. We aren't relying much on anything coming directly from the state.
I think the real answer to your question, Satish, is that we have to reduce our expenditures.
Yeah, I think my worry is that, like, okay, this time we are able to do that, like, unless we have some plans, otherwise we'll be always this crisis management. You guys will be doing a great job on getting these things, but it cannot be a practice, right? Because and we know this is what going to be like this, at least for now, for some time, because the flow will be lower. Yeah, but that's a great thing that we can. We should tighten, but I think we need to have some plans around, borrowing, and I think, but Sylvia asked this, like, are we making money out of it? Not necessarily every time we are going to make money out of it. So, right. So even, let's say it's in the other way, like if it is a 1 million extra you're going to spend on, that's a big money again, right? So this is a little bit of very, that race condition we say in our technology side. So tight of a little bit of race conditions, it can vary here and there. So I'm a little concerned on going forward kind of thing. This year we are okay, we are managing, but especially financially, we are not that strong. Right?
Yes.
I think the other thing I would add is as you're trying to reduce expenditures, that also will build your natural reserves. So to Ava's question about what are our current reserves, if you build up your current cash reserves, which we're trying to do over the next 5 years, that also increases your cash flow because then you have more money in your reserves. So to your point, if you reduce expenditures, increase your reserve, then you've got more cash flow to then help you with that naturally without having to borrow, et cetera. So I think it all ties together.
Thank you. Hope we'll do.
All right, and any, Ava, please.
Thank you. I have additional questions if you don't mind. The interest rate, is the interest is variable, or once we get the money, is that interest rate fixed?
No, it's variable.
It's variable by month or
Yeah.
quarterly?
Our investment is with the county, so it's based
Okay.
on county investment rates. So it is a monthly interest rate that is determined based on the county pool of investments.
Okay, and just so happens that it is slightly, we're gaining slightly more than
Based on
what
the
we are
estimate
borrowing.
currently right now. Mhm.
Okay. And then the other question is, and the money for Title III, is that based off of our number of immigrant students?
There is a calculation, and yes, that is based off of our number of immigrant students.
Okay, the last question is a follow-up, and maybe Allison might have the answer to,
Sure.
is how many of our students are immigrants?
I'd have to,
Yeah, I think we'd have to take a,
I have to check on that.
we can get that information to you, but I don't think we have it off the.
I don't have it
Thank
off the top
you.
of my head. Yeah, no problem. We can get that for you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions? If not, do we have any public comments on this item?
No, we do not.
Okay, great. On that case, thank you, Tina. All right. Okay, moving on to section J, discussion action. We have one item tonight, which is discussion of the Finch property. So we'll kick us off on
I'll
that.
kick it off, and then Chris will be joining in, and we also have Scott Sheldon is joining us virtually in case we have any other questions there, but maybe just to set the stage where we're having this discussion. Our last discussion on our Finch property, which maybe to give some of the background on, we reference it to the Finch property. It was actually land property that was purchased from the Pastorino family. The CUSD purchased it back in November of 2016. It is approximately 52,544 developable square feet, which is about 1.4 to 1.5 acres. Easier description is it's adjacent to Sedgwick Elementary School. It's a large empty lot that's sitting there. We actually purchased it for $5,386,750. At that time, we used a combination of our Measure H bonds and our Fund 21, which is our building funds, to make that purchase. We have conferred with legal. We are not obligated to pay back any of that money that we used with Measure H. I know that had been a question that had come up the last couple times. The other piece is we have not done a formal appraisal on it. The last, I believe, was probably in 2016.
When we purchased.
Appraisal when we purchased it. So we haven't done a formal, but over the course of the last couple of years with Terry Realty's help, we have brought that information forward. And our last discussion in January of 2025 was what are some options that we can explore for this property. At that time, one of the asks of the board is, could we reach out to the city to see if there was any interest that they what might have in the property. Over the course of time, July, the city of Cupertino did take it to their city council meeting, had a discussion, and they did express interest in entering into negotiations on the property. And so it now comes back to us. What our ask is tonight is not to figure out what to do with the property. It's actually to delegate Chris and myself as negotiators for the district so that we can begin having those conversations, not only with the city, but anyone else that we might know has expressed interest in our property as well. So
yeah, and I mean, maybe just to add again, this is in compliance with government code. For the district to begin any negotiations about over any real property, the board does need to appoint a negotiator. And once we've done that, then this will allow Stacy or myself to update the board through closed sessions on the status of any kind of form of negotiation. So this is just a technicality that we need to do before we go too far down this road.
Okay, great. Thank you. Then let's take it back to the board. Questions, Satish?
And I don't have a question, but I think I support that and definitely I wanted to get moving. We have been sitting on that without any decision and hope your negotiation will definitely yield a good value for us.
Thank you. Long?
I have a simple question. So on slide 1, we have say the net is 1.48 acre, but on the second page it says 1.45 acre. Is that a typo or? Yeah.
I don't know that it's a typo, and I think we have Terra Realty on here because these were 2 old slides that we used there. They may be using it because when I was doing the research on it, there's what they consider developmental property, and there's some that they omitted some of the square feet. So I'm not sure why they did that. So that could be some of that variance on there. But happy to do a little bit more research as to whether it's 1.4, 1.5, 1.48.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Long. And then Ava, please.
So in terms of if we're gonna be getting appraisal, and I think I remember last time it was just an estimate, it wasn't like a formal appraisal. They had different appraisals based on what the property would be used for. Would we also be getting like different appraisals based on what it can be used for, so we could see the pricing? Or is that how they work?
Well, I mean, I would ask this, I mean, like when we acquired the property,
Yeah.
in this case, the buyer ended up getting the appraisal to get the value of the property. In this case, since we're the seller, I mean, we have an appraisal when we purchase the property. It would make some sense at some point in time if we wanted to get our appraisal updated. But I would maybe say that this would be then the responsibility of a potential buyer to have them do an appraisal. So we certainly can if we want to incur that expense right now. But I think we have some probably pretty good comparable data that Tara shared with us as far as what the value of the property.
Okay, I guess the follow-up question is, does the appraisal amount or appraisal in general depend on the zoning type? Because currently it's R16.
Correct. It does depend on the zoning, correct.
Okay, so I guess to ask, so what you're telling me is that the appraisal will be based on the buyer and what their appraisal is? No, so we could ask Terra Realty or, who we were working with to give us the appraisals based on the zoning type that is possible in this neighborhood.
Our interest would be to get an appraisal based off of the zoning. In this case, it's zoned for residential. So obviously that would be the highest best value for us. If to say that the city is wanting to purchase it for a park, they're going to want to have it appraised as a park, not appraised as a residential piece.
But currently it is zoned as an R1, and that's where on the slide you'll see it says the 6 units per acre. That would be the initial appraisal because that's what it's zoned.
And maybe because I'm not familiar with the zoning languages. So I'm not sure if there's different kinds of residential zoning that may bring us a different appraisal price.
I mean, I don't
That's
have, I
something
don't
to
have
ask and ask Terra Realty.
Aaron, do you see him? If you wouldn't mind, we could invite Scott. I'm sure he would have some further information on this.
So Mr. Sheldon, if you're online, please feel free to jump in.
Scott, you should be able to unmute yourself. We do see you there.
Disappeared.
Is that better?
There he is.
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay, I guess it helps to look at the controls on which microphone I'm using. So good afternoon, thank you. Scott Sheldon, Terra Realty Advisors. So there was a couple of questions that came up. The property that you're showing here, there is a typo. The 1.4 acres is the gross acreage. That's what the assessor shows on the parcel map. It's actually 1.45 acres, and how we calculated that was we took the developable area, as Superintendent Yao said, and that's the street area, and took that out. So from a calculation perspective, that's what the city would look at, and that's what developers would look at as to what is my actual usable area. Because again, part of that property goes into where a street would be and a sidewalk and everything else that you could not use. So that's, I hope that answers that one question. The other question on the appraisal, and this is going to be important to be able to frame the appraisal appropriately. It's actually fairly straightforward. An appraisal that would be defensible for both the district as well as anybody else would be to have it appraised at the current zoning requirements, which is 6 units per acre. When we estimated that, because of the size and all of that, we assumed that we could get 7 to maybe 8 acres. Again, it's a nuance right there, but that would be what we would strive to get to in terms of the appraised value, and that would be the highest and best value. The city would, they could ask to have it appraised as something else, but frankly, the value is based on what the current land use is. And I don't think that there would be much of a discussion with the city about another type of zoning to assume what the appraisal would be done at and under those instructions. So I hope that's helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Sylvia?
So I think my question is mostly about process. So once the designation of negotiator is done, then like what's the steps after that? I know, previously staff has presented, here's the different options, here's, different ideas. I know you were talking about purchasing, but really what we discussed before was an exchange. So I just, want to make sure that that's clear. But does that happen in closed session? Does that happen in open session? Like, help me understand what's the process from here on?
So process going forward, obviously, after you've designated Stacy as a negotiator, we will begin to take interest. We have begun discussion with the city. We're hoping that the city would actually provide us more concrete letter of offer, letter of interest that will allow us to then continue discussing with them, begin this process of ultimately negotiating what would be a value. And then we will come back to you during closed session and give you updates on this. So basically, this is just opening that window for us to entertain interest in the property. It could be the city, it could be someone else.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks. I have 2 questions, probably for Mr. Sheldon. So following up on the earlier one about appraisals, I'd like to understand. So my question is, obviously, this piece of land, depending on how you use it for, is going to be worth different values, right? So I guess at one end, potentially, maybe housing, then it'd be worth more than, say, parkland. But in terms of the appraisal process, it sounds like what I'm hearing from you, Mr. Sheldon, is that it really depends on the zoning. The fact that the city uses it for something that's lesser than its maximum value would not impact the appraisal. Let's say they turn it into a garbage dump. Then obviously then it's not worth it. But that's not really, that wouldn't affect the appraisal because it's a R16 that they choose to use for something else. Is that correct? Or is appraisal going to be somewhat dependent on what the buyer wants it for?
No, if the negotiation is with the city, it will be strictly based on the R16, which is by right, that whether it's the school district or somebody else coming in, they would be able to process a project using that zoning designation and be able to do that. So that in legally in every other way, that would be what it'd have to be. And again, you're absolutely right. What their ultimate land use would be if it's a park, I'd probably differ with you if it was maybe not at that location, but if it was a garbage dump, it may be worth even more. But that's not going to happen at that location. So the value is going to be what the entitlements are for that particular piece of property. What somebody chooses to use it for after that has nothing to do with what the district would receive.
Great. Okay, thank you. Thanks for clarifying that. My second question is around Assembly Bill 130 that the governor signed at the end of June. And I've been speaking to some council members, and I guess my question is, does that bill affect, does our piece of property in the transaction that we're structuring right now, is it considered an exempt surplus land? Or is our procedures going to be different now because AB 130 is now in force?
So I'll give you the non-lawyer version of that because we're dealing with that a lot. And so basically what AB 130 and SB 130 did was carve out the exemption process that school districts throughout the state of California have to circumvent the Surplus Land Act. Because by statute in the government code and in the ed code, the school districts already have that process. I know there's a very significant effort underway by all of the CASBO and CSBA and all the other organizations to unwind that or to get that clarified. But my understanding in talking to legal counsel, and I know that Chris was on that call also, as well as Stacy, that the position with the exchange that we would go through would basically say we're taking the position that this is an exchange deal and it would not be subject to that particular provision. But I would defer also to legal counsel on that. But a very good point.
Okay, but it sounds like the current understanding is that it wouldn't affect us because it's a exchange or.
We do believe so, based
Okay.
on what our legal counsel has shared with us.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. No, thank you. My reading of the language would be that way. I also fed AB 130 into ChatGPT along with the description of what we're trying to do. ChatGPT feels that way also, but we'll see what the lawyers actually think. Thank you. So those are my questions. Are there any other questions or comments before? I like to see if we have public comments on this before we deliberate. Are there? Go ahead, Ava, please.
Oh, I just want to clarify, and I wasn't sure. So what's the ask of our vote? Is that going towards open negotiation? And
So
would that be open for everybody?
Our
the
ask
public?
is that you designate myself and a designee to be negotiators, which could be with the city, and it could be if somebody else expressed interest with us.
Okay, would that also mean like we are advertising this as well? Like with it,
We
working
haven't
with a
engaged in that
realtor?
Conversation at this point. We do know we have one party interested, the city of Cupertino, so that would be our first group that we would want to talk with.
As a district and current property owner, and that we definitely need money. So I'll be willing to put effort out there of, besides just the city, to what other people would be interested in the land, so that we can get the best price possible for the exchange that we are looking to go into. That's kind of like the direction I kind of want to go into if we are moving forward with Finch to the next step, and especially if we are making this an open negotiation, that we have that consideration of having options so that we get the competitive and best pricing.
Absolutely. And that will be myself and Mr. Ju's role, as we are certainly going to be pushing for the best possible price that we can get because it benefits our students.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do we have public comments on this item?
We do. We have one.
Okay, let's welcome the speaker.
Jennifer Griffin.
Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you. Do you want me to speak into this or just talk loudly?
If you could, that would be great.
Okay.
Just for the.
I go to all the city council meetings, so I'm used to speaking. Can you, do I take this out or? Okay, I'm sure you guys can hear me. Hi, I'm Jennifer Griffin. I live in Rancho Rinconada. I've actually, I rented since 1985 and I purchased my home in 1995 as a single female tech worker. I was not married at the time. I am a graduate of Montclair and Cupertino Junior High and Homestead. My husband attended Regnart, Hoover, another one, and he went to Lincoln, and then he went to Monte Vista. He was in the first graduating class at Monte Vista, and he did go to Kennedy. So in this regard, this is a very important piece of property. Rancho Rinconada is 1 mile by 1 mile. It was built in 1950. And it was in the county when I first moved into it. It was annexed. We actually worked with the county and the city to have it annexed in at 2000 to have it better protected for the neighborhood. Sedgwick School and this property is 1/2 mile into the middle of the neighborhood. It is not a good site for housing under any circumstances. The traffic load out there is absolutely outrageous. We have tri-schools there. It's as bad as Monte Vista. And you can talk to my husband about the traffic around the tri-schools of Monte Vista. You can understand. The city has plenty of money in their park fund. I was at every city council meeting. The cities have assigned Kitty Moore and Mr. Wang as the negotiating committee. The city council is on break for August. It is my understanding, I attended the meetings. I spend a lot of time. If you don't, your city gets nothing. We would have no parks at all, nothing. The east side, when I moved in, there were no parks in my neighborhood, and there are 5,000 people in the east side of Cupertino. Right now, we have Sterling Barnhart is 1/2 acre, and we have Lawrence Mitty, which is undeveloped, sitting ready to go, but it has got lots of challenges because it's along Lawrence Expressway, and it was a dump area for the county. We need this as parkland. And if it goes to housing, we will fight. The neighbors will fight. I don't agree with the housing laws in this state. I belong to 3 of the groups that are fighting it, but we need that parkland, and we hope that you will negotiate in good faith.
Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, so I think this is a discussion action item. And so the question here before us is appointing Superintendent Yao and Chris as the negotiation committee to open negotiations. So I'd like to see if we, maybe before a motion, just see if anybody else has any sort of things they want to say, sort of a deliberation round, and then I'll entertain motions. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, so I think as I told, I definitely support this, but I prefer to start with city first before we go anything further. Like, if we can get it bought or, or made an agreement with city, that'll be the best things. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then Long?
Say, if we start the negotiation, and how often are you going to update us?
We would update you as frequently as we had any updates. So given if the board does approve us to move forward and designate me as a negotiator, I'll be reaching out to the city rather quickly to see if we could set up an initial meeting.
Okay, thank you. And Ava?
I do have a question. Typically, when a property becomes available, how long do they advertise it on the market before? Because I'm trying to remember back when we were talking about Montebello, and I think we waited a while before we started having inquiries. I don't know how long, and maybe this might be a question for Dale Scott or no, Terra Realty, I'm sorry. Terra Realty to answer, like before we have a pool of interest and negotiation started, or
I can defer to Scott, but if you look at personal property, when you put your house on the market, you typically don't wait necessarily until you have a pool. You can begin entertaining the first offer that comes in if that's something of interest.
So it's just typically in a pool until there's a pool. Okay, I had to ask because I don't own any properties. I've always rented. So I guess my question, I would like to motion the staff in getting the property appraised, and then don't start any negotiations until we have a pool of interest.
Okay. Oh, we'll go around. I'll make a note of that. We'll maybe come back for you to phrase that motion. But I'd like to maybe hear from everybody and then we can.
I just made a motion, so yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's a valid motion. I just want to hear from everybody and then work on that. Okay, sorry, did you have other?
Just maybe for point of order, if you did make a motion, you could call for a second.
All right.
Before further discussion,
okay,
and then opening up for discussion.
Okay, would you mind restating the motion just so?
Sure. Motion to have staff look into getting the Finch property appraised and get a pool of applicants before negotiation.
Okay, did you want to say anything about appointing the superintendent and Chris, or not in your motion?
I was just saying staff in general, but yeah, we could add the negotiators, the superintendent Yao and chief of business officers here.
Okay, so there are three components to this motion then. One is to get Finch appraised. Second is to get a pool of applicants.
Pool of applicants or pool of
Interested parties or something?
potential buyers.
And then
before going into negotiation with any of the parties.
Okay, and then the third one is, of course, appointing the two of them as negotiators. Those are the three.
Superintendent Yao and chief of business officer Ju.
Okay, all right. So we have a motion on the table. Do we have a second?
Can I ask a question?
Sure, clarification.
Yeah,
Please go ahead.
clarification question on that. I thought this agenda can be modified a thing, or is it like there was a proposal in that? Just curious, like.
So the agenda item is a request to appoint a negotiator to begin negotiations on the Finch property. On the property.
Which
We
I
do
think.
not call out any specifics as to the who. We just are asking the board to designate myself as a negotiator so that we can begin conversation. So after we take action, and if you do approve me, then we can always come back as a board and have conversations about the specifics as far as what do we want to do? Do we want to put the land up for sale? Do we want to advertise that? Do we want to invest with Terra Realty to do that for us? But tonight specifically, in order for us to do any kind of movement, we're asking to appoint a negotiator.
Yeah, so is there a room for us to change this or no?
No, we can. I think this is just a motion that includes what was asked, and there are two other things on here, which is Finch appraisal and then building a pool of interested parties. So that's the three parts to this motion. Any other discussion, clarification, questions?
So can I
Friendly amendment.
can I make a friendly amendment? Is that so? I agree with getting the appraisal, although I kind of thought that was part of like the next steps of what happens after we designate. And then the requirement for the pool, I guess my only concern with that is I don't want to hamstring our negotiator by creating additional requirements, I guess, that might like then we have to define a pool. We have to how many is that? Well, I guess.
So if I may, point of order, we do have a motion on the table, and so only the person that made the motion may amend that motion.
Okay.
That's why would be a request.
See, sorry.
So what is the language of your friendly amendment? What is the language of your friendly amendment? So I'm clear.
Removing the third one of the pool, I guess.
All right, just for numbering, I think the first is the appraisal, second is the pool, third is the negotiation team. Those are the three components.
Do we, I guess, before I can respond to your friendly amendment, can I have a clarifying, I have a clarifying question. On to get an appraisal, do we need negotiators for that? Or is that just like a staff ask, an action item?
If there's a request for an appraisal, it comes with a cost. And if that's what we as a board wants to do, it's not on the agenda tonight that we couldn't bring that forward.
So if we're asking for appointing negotiators, then the intention is to negotiate with whomever. So
maybe to point a clarification by appointing either myself, Chris, both of us as negotiator, what it allows us to do is then we can begin to move forward on the property, which may very well mean we meet in closed session and get further direction as to what is our steps. Do we want to do appraisal? Do we want to put it onto the marker? It just allows us to move forward because right now we are sitting stagnant because we haven't made any decisions. It doesn't mean that as a district we're making any determinations on what the land use is going to be. It's merely an opportunity for us. Currently, we know that we do have somebody interested. We could begin negotiations. We could currently then come back and say, do we want to open it up? But I think to try to wrap all of that into one motion, that really wasn't what's necessary or needed at this point. It's really to start the step to approach us as negotiators. Otherwise, we're going to continue to have these conversations and not be able to move forward.
So what I'm hearing you saying that to move forward with our, I think an agreed intention is to get an appraisal for the property does not necessarily require negotiators, chief negotiators. It's just asking for an appraisal.
No, that would be an ask of the board that we could bring back as another item if that was the concept. They wanted to come back to request an appraisal.
Thank you for answering my question. So in response to Sylvia, I believe your friendly amendment is to have an appraisal and a negotiator. Is that correct?
So now sorry, now I'm thinking I want to know how much an appraisal is going to.
Right. So maybe
a directive.
Okay, so I'm going to deny the friendly amendment and I would like to change my original motion to we're going to move ahead and ask the staff for an appraisal. And whatever comes after, we'll deal with that afterwards.
So your new
Asking for an appraisal for the staff to ask the Terra Realty to go for an appraisal to see what are the options that we have, and then we can move forward where we want to go. Because this is like the first time we've talked about the Finch property in almost a year. So this will be a good refresher, and we'll have a new presentation by Terra Realty. So my change motion is that we will ask staff for an appraisal on the French property.
Thank you. All right. So the motion on the table is a request to just make an appraisal of Finch property. Do I have a second on this?
Does that require a motion? I thought that was just a staff ask.
That's the motion that was.
Well, she made a
It's an action item.
She made a motion, so now we need to vote on the motion.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there a second on the motion? Any discussions or, please?
Yeah, I'm.
We can also, Scott is still on the line and, he can have some further clarification as far how the
Oh,
process
yes,
could
I
work.
see Mr. Sheldon's line.
Has his raised.
Hand is raised. So let's go ahead and unmute his microphone. Please go ahead, Scott, if you have something you'd like to share.
Yes, can you hear me okay? Hello?
Okay, now we're good. Please go ahead.
Okay, good. So thank you. So my recommendation is at this time to not get an appraisal. And the reason for that is, first of all, an appraisal has an expiration date of 6 months. The other part of it is that I believe that the best course of action for the board is to is the motion it was originally put forward for the negotiators for Stacy and Chris is to sit down at least with a party that the city that has expressed interest to see what their real interest is and to be able to talk through how an appraisal would be framed. Because again, in order to get a good appraisal, and when I say good, reflective of what the market is and what the board could expect to get, you have to give instructions to the appraiser as to what that means. And whether it's a city or whether it's another party, you're really going to want that information. Otherwise, it's not going to be a very defensible appraisal. The other part that I wanted to answer in terms of asking other parties to come in, and I think I'll answer it in two parts here. If the direction of the board was to go out to the marketplace to find out what other parties outside of the city would be willing to pay, you would normally go through an RFP process. And that would involve putting together documents that state, here's what the property is, here's what the property zoning is, and then go out to interested parties that way to find out what they would be interested in paying. And that process would probably take about 2 months. So it would take time to put the RFP together and be very similar to what the district has done with the Regnart and now right now in the last parts of the Meyerholz, where you go out and you actually test the market. And that's another way of doing it. And again, that's probably a 60-day plus process to go through. Once you published it, you would probably allow at least 30 to 40 days for the market to be able to respond to you. So there's the time portion of that. That was a question. I hope I answered that. But the most important part in any negotiation is to make sure that whether it's the city or anybody else, that you've really framed that in a way that the board wants to have it framed. And again, my recommendation would be, as the superintendent and the CBO put forward, is to negotiate that and then sit down and work out what the strategy is in a closed session meeting. So that's what I wanted to relay.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Scott. Okay, coming back to the board, do we have comments from folks?
We still have a motion on the
Yes, we
table.
have a motion on the table.
Now that we have further clarification from Terra Realty, thank you all for your patience. I'm going to modify my original motion again. And the motion is to move us to the RFP process.
Okay.
And that we ask the city to formally put in their request, and we kind of have an idea where they want to be, because it's kind of hard. Because he says if we don't know what the city is looking for formally, it's kind of hard for us to kind of discuss what to do. But the RFP process will give us 2 months to kind of figure out what the city and what other people may want to do with that land. Maybe it'll give them time to kind of figure out what they actually want and give it to us in writing.
Okay, all right. So the motion on the table now is to direct staff to enter into an RFP process for the Finch property. Go ahead, Long. Question.
Can I have a question? Say, we just recently sold Montebello.
Yes.
And so what was the process when we sold Montebello before?
I'm sorry, the process for which we exchanged the Montebello would be kind of what we're talking about, I think, potentially for Finch. So a very similar process.
The RFP process?
Yeah, but I'm sorry, I was not in the board for when we started the Montebello process. Could you please remind me what happened and do we?
No, I'm sorry, I was mistaken. We didn't go through an RFP process with Montebello. No, we didn't.
We were designated as negotiators. We secured Terra Realty, who became our realtor. And then we began the negotiations. They entertained offers. We
Okay,
did
and
not-
but let's say we
hired a realtor to solicit the property, and that's kind of how we found our buyer. So we
Okay.
hired a realtor to advertise and promote the property.
Okay, did we say select you guys as negotiator first, and then we do this RFP and so?
I believe so. It's been 3-4 years, but I believe so.
Okay, all right. Thank
If
you.
if I can clarify, that what we did, I believe that Superintendent Yao and CBO Ju were engaged as the negotiators. What we put together was actually an RFP to hire the broker. And we got proposals from brokers, not only in terms of what they could do from a marketing perspective, but what the value would be, their opinion of value. And then we engaged a broker. They went out and marketed the property and secured the buyer. So it was an RFP process for one portion of it. And the reason for that was that piece of property was very specialized. It wasn't a development property per se. It was more of a home site for somebody to look at. And so we went after the real estate brokerage firm that could do the best job for us. And we ended up with Keller Williams.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Okay, we have a motion on the table. Is there any other questions or is there a second? All right, seeing no second, then I don't know what appropriate wording is. I guess the motion is off the table. We'll read my Robert's rules on this. All right, so I think we're going around. I haven't heard from Sylvia yet, so maybe I'd like to hear from Sylvia. I'd like to share, and then we can discuss any other motions.
So I think just to speak towards Ava's intent, I think I'm in agreement with the intent, which is to make sure that we as a district are able to get the best possible revenue and outcome for our students, for the district, and make sure that we have all the options available to us, whether that's through RFP or through closed session negotiation. So I think for me, like I'm good with moving forward with designating Superintendent Yao and Chris as the negotiators, because I feel like right now that gives us the most options so that we can evaluate everything without having additional restrictions. And so I think that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then where I'm at, I'm also supportive of designating Superintendent Yao and Chris as the negotiator team. I think that's what gets things started. But I'm gonna say a bit more about this because I just to sort of share my position. I don't think it's really changed. Is that the way I see this is that we're part of the government that serves the people who live around here or in Cupertino or district or whatever, us and the city council. Right. And so, it's my belief that the best use of that land for the folks that live around there or is a park. I think I've been clear about this in the beginning. My mind still hasn't changed. And so what I would like to see is a park there. There was someone who had written us about sort of an educational park. And I think we wrote, I think I wrote back something along. I like the idea. We don't have the funds. He took it to the city. There may be some interest. I don't know what they're going to do with it. But I think what I'm thinking of is I do think that's the best use for the land. I do want to get a good price for us, and which is why I think an appraisal is important. I don't want to be ripped off, but at the same time, I'm not looking to, gather every penny out of the city council coffers kind of thing. I want to do the right thing because ultimately we're serving the right folks. I'm not trying to do a local optimization just for us. I wouldn't want to, I think as a resident, I would want my government entities to work together instead of trying to just do these local optimizations. So, but as Superintendent Yao said, there's a lot ahead of us. There's some discussion of strategy, discussion of, how we do this, but I think, I trust them to do their jobs. I don't want to restrictions. If I didn't trust them to do their jobs, then I probably would be doing something. That's a different discussion. And so I trust them to look out for the district. And at this point, I'm very happy to support them being that role. And then we'll have, I'm sure, many closed sessions on this. So that's why I am on this. Okay, any other questions, discussions, folks? Otherwise, I'm happy to, sorry, you go and then Ava. So we'll just kind of go in the same order.
Okay, so definitely, and I think I already said that I support these things, but definitely, I think the first priority probably should be going to the city, because they're part of again another government organization next to us, and we are going to enjoy that if they can provide the fair value, whatever. And of course, we don't have to compromise in terms of money, but at the same time, definitely. And they have, what I understand is they are also now advanced a lot. They're ready to negotiate. They're ready to talk. That's what I hear from public. So I think definitely we should give a fair chance for city first. Thank you.
Thank you. Long, did you want to say anything? Otherwise, we'll go to Ava, just in order. It's fine if you don't. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I was not familiar with this process. To say for our school district to do this process before, and yeah, I think this is not our first time, and say we have some precedents like Montebello, which we just recently closed. So yeah. Yeah, we probably can. Just follow. If we didn't see, say, any significant defect on previous process, maybe then we do not need to change it, and unless we see something significant. And so yeah, I also trying to say like Jennifer just mentioned, and we that area needs some parks, and so we that can be the city already made some offer. I mean, made some move. They showed some interest, and I think it's good for us to start the negotiation process.
Thank you. Ava, please go ahead.
Okay.
I need to be, okay, so it is now working. So let's see. I believe I heard Terra Realty saying that it is recommended to go through an RFP process. The reason that we went into, and please let me know if I misheard from them. And also the second point is the reason that Montebello went through an RFP process to hire the broker was because Montebello is specialized. I think we were trying to sell Montebello for 2 years, and it was really hard to get buyers. Like the property was out of the city limits. You had to take a drive to get up there, and they had structures on there that was it used to be like a one house schoolhouse, and they had certain things that people couldn't tear it down for other things. So this property that we have here at the Finch property is it's an empty lot now. And I'm not sure if it was empty when we bought it, but it's empty. It's in the middle of the city. It's very accessible. It is in the middle of a residential area. In the past board meetings, it has mentioned, well, if it's in the middle residential area, it's hard. It definitely would not qualify for commercial areas because it's too noisy, and then if it's commercialized, it would bring more traffic for a commercialized area. The part about the park, and there's not enough parks, the closest park to Sedgwick Elementary is 0.3 miles, a 6-minute walk, and it's the Creekside Park. And the Creekside Park, it's a lovely park. It's got even a building which people can rent out and have their own private parties and such. And it's runs along the side of the Calabasas Creek. So there is a park that is nearby. But if we are saying that we want the best value for our school district, I believe we do have a very good relationship, and I totally do see that, and Stacy has exemplified this to be very professional, and we do have a very good communicative and good relationship with the city. This situation, it's a business negotiation. We do have other things that we do business with the city, but in this case, if we are the seller, we're trying to find buyers for the best price. Now, regardless if it's seller A, B, or C, I mean, not seller, buyers A, B, and C, we are the seller. So the intention of finding the best price doesn't mean we're going for the coffers of the city. It's just like, we just want the best price possible as a seller, as a business negotiation. This is not primarily like we're looking to be best friends with the city. This is a business negotiation. I do believe we do have a very good relationship with the city. We had communication with the city in which we just had the 4th of July fireworks on our properties. And here, I wasn't in town. I'm usually out of town for 4th of July, but I heard the event went really well and the city held up on their side, and the property just, they cleaned up and it looked like it never happened. I mean, it went off really well. And so we do have a very good relationship with the city in terms of, so I don't think looking at this as a business negotiation doesn't mean we're not going to bargain and like not have a good relationship with the city. I don't think that should be it. I think we should, we do have and understand we do have a good relationship, but we need to look at this in the perspective of business negotiation. This is about money. This is about money for our students. If there's concerns about a park, there is a park 0.3 miles away, a 6-minute walk from Sedgwick. And I know that area very well. I have friends that live in that area as well. So, but we want to have options. And I believe that the RFP process is a process that gives the time and gives us more audience so that we have options to look at. And I think, I believe that our staff has been asking the city exactly what is it that you want, so that we can have some direction where to go to. But if we don't have something official from the city, we can't really go off of that. I mean, in business negotiations, besides talking, we have to have something in writing. So I'm hoping that the RFP process will also benefit the city by giving them that time, because I hear and I know that August is their recess time. So there goes one whole entire month that they won't be able to come together at another city council meeting until September. So that will give them some time in a couple meetings to kind of come to an idea. But during that time, if we go through our RFP process, I believe there's an appraisal that goes with it. So this is the reason why I was thinking RFP process, because I am in consideration of the timeline of the city right now, because they are at recess. And that will because they can't do any action if they really want an action to be done, unless the council is there making that ruling. So I'm hoping that my colleagues see that the RFP process will give us the most options and give time for the city to give us something official in writing. And I think I hope that my colleagues here agree that we do have a really good relationship with the city. We do a lot of things, and they help us out when we were doing a 5K run and everything. And the 4th of July fireworks went off really well. So I'm hoping that my colleagues will because even if we send negotiators and have Stacy go in, they can't have anything official because they're not meeting. So I'm hoping that my colleagues will entertain the idea of RFP process, because this is a business negotiation. We're trying to get the most money for our students. And as our previous presentation, we're taking out a $30 million loan so that we can stay afloat being basic aid. So this does have an effect, and currently we only have around unofficially 5 million in reserves.
President Liu, if I may, just as I'm listening to all the conversations and the comments, and I think everybody has such valid points, I think circling back to the intent for this purpose is not to lock us into anything. We purposely, everything that has been brought up, I think can be brought back to the board as a discussion after you appoint us as negotiators. That is our role as a negotiator. When you appoint us as negotiators, we are not obligated to do anything with the city. We are not locking ourselves into it. We would not act as staff. We are going to come back to the board in closed session and say, you know, here's what we found. Here's what we're recommending. It could be to go to the RFP. It could be to do the appraisal. But I think we're trying to solve the problem in one sitting when I think we have that opportunity to take that next step, and then we can really start trying to solve that. So I think everything is so important what was said tonight. You know, obviously, it's a very important topic for each and every one of us. And so I do believe we need to have that conversation. But I think for that conversation to really be able to move forward, I think we need to do the first step of appointing the negotiator. So
Thank you. Any other comments or, oh, please, sorry, Sylvia.
I'm in total agreement with Superintendent Yao that we probably are skipping ahead to some of this conversation. I didn't know that was where the conversation was going to go. So I just wanted an opportunity to respond.
Sure.
After hearing everyone. Because I'm hearing, you know, there's already been some discussion in some direction in some way. And I just wanted to be able to respond to that a little bit. I think for me, you know, as school board trustees, our responsibilities to the district, our responsibilities to our students. I hear the points about community and wanting to serve the community, wanting to have a good relationship with the city. I think there's lots of different ways in which we can continue to strengthen that relationship. I mean, let's just talk about the water bill for our fields, right? Like there's all sorts of different times when we can work together to serve the community together. I think for me, it's in recalling past staff presentation on the options, for me, it's always been about the revenue generating one. And that's the third party exchange. And that's the one where we can get an annual income versus just giving away property. And I think that like common wisdom nowadays is never to just sell the property for a one lump sum. Because we did that back in whenever it was that we sold off all those other properties when we could have kept them and actually had revenue generation. And so I just wanted to put that out there since everyone's kind of saying what they're wanting. I just want to make sure that mine is recorded as well. But I think if maybe if I may, I can have a motion to appoint Superintendent Yao and CBO Chris Ju as our negotiators.
Okay, all right. So we have a motion on the table to appoint Superintendent Yao and CBO Ju as the negotiator team. Please go ahead, Ava.
I agree with what Trustee Leong is saying and having an exchange. I think we all agreed the whole intent is to go through an exchange process so that we can use the money to buy another piece of property that would have consistent income. The RFP process is for an exchange, not for an outright sale. So just to be clear, because we did a different, I mean, I heard that we did the RFP process for Montebello that was specifically for a broker, a different process, but it was still an RFP where we went out and we had the broker and say, hey, try to find us people that will buy this property, because this property is really hard to sell because it's very unique and had unique things on the property. What I was asking for is an RFP for an exchange where we do put it out there so that we have those potential buyers. And of course, those potential buyers also include the city. And that timeline that was said to us is 2 months. And that 2 months definitely would give the city, because they're not meeting in the month of August. They have recess until September. And they probably will take a couple meetings. I mean, when we're off, we get a lot of stuff coming back because we were off for a month in July. So I'm assuming with lots of business, they probably will have something by the end of September, which is around the 2-month process for the RFP. And if we kind of, and I guess the other ask is like, so being just clarifying, asking your RFP is for an exchange, not outright sell, because one, we would never do that because we're not reinvesting the money. Two, we won't get the full value of our property, and we definitely want the full value.
I'll just add, I think maybe echoing what some of Superintendent Yao said, I think maybe we just take the baby step, we appoint them as negotiators, because all these possibilities, RFPs or whatever, could all be possible. But these would, I think, I do agree, the enabling thing is to empower them so they can start. I think so. That's it. So we have a motion. Does anyone want to second or question or?
I will second this motion, and
Okay.
I think a lot of good points Eva brought it here with my comment. And I think we should definitely look into all aspects down the line. It's not that we are telling that we should be giving city a reduced price or anything, but being, they could be also a potential buyer, and if it's going to be beneficial for more people, that'll be the best thing. And definitely we should give them a chance, right? So I think, as you all said, that we can take the baby step, you can be the negotiator. And part of it, probably there could be an assessment or whatever, the value of the property we should be looking into. But these all, we can probably be doing it as step 1, step 2, step 3 like that. I don't think anything is stopping us appointing, and CBO on this. So I support that motion.
Right. Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussions before I call for a vote? No? Okay, Aaron, a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Zhao,
Aye.
Trustee Chow,
Nay.
Trustee Leong,
Aye.
Trustee Manhattan,
Aye.
Trustee Liu.
Aye. Okay, all right, motion passes. Thank you, everyone. Okay, moving on to section K. This is our consent calendar. We have 17 items on consent. Could I get, if no one wants to pull anything, could I get a motion, please?
I move.
Okay, thank you, Long, and could I get a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Satish. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Zhao,
Aye.
Trustee Chow,
Aye.
Trustee Leong,
Aye.
Trustee Manhattan,
Aye.
Trustee Liu.
Aye. Okey doke. Section L, board activities. So this is the first meeting and school hasn't started, but let's see, does anyone have anything they'd like to share? No?
Oh, I think we had, yeah, we had the bell ringing thing.
Bell ringing for World.
Yeah, but the day before,
About that? Yeah.
yeah, I think at least many of the board members and the superintendent were there, and we were well represented there, and superintendent gave a speech as well. That was a good event.
And we had 2x2x2 with the high school districts and Los Altos. And
Oh.
yeah, so it was, talked about homestead corridor, and as well as teachers, what's that? Some affordable housing. Yeah.
Los Altos,
Yeah.
it was the 2x2 with Los Altos, and it was for public service employees in Los Altos.
Yeah, right.
That had affordable housing for public service employees. So that's inclusive of the, for example, besides educators, that would be people who work firefighters and police as well.
All right. Okay. Well, thanks, everyone. Then the item section M, agenda setting. Does anybody have anything to suggest for future agenda items? Okay. If not, I have two requests. One is in the beginning of the summer, we had a discussion about the MOU with New Taipei, and I think one of the action items for staff was going to check with someone, and so I'd like to maybe get an update on that. In no hurry, I think a Friday update would be fine on the status of that. Second item is also related, is the MOU we have with New Taipei. If Article 5 actually says that any sort of activities that happen under the MOU should require written approval from both the signatories, which would be the Education Department in New Taipei and then the Board of Education for CUSD. So in the past, we've been kind of loosey-goosey about that. So my ask is if there are any sort of proposals of visits or any sort of activities to bring that to the board for review. I'm basically just asking, let's just follow what's written in the MOU. So, okay, great, thank you. All right, if there's anything else then I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting here at 8:14. Thanks, everyone.